After the divorce, I went back to the countryside, built a fortune, and found a new love. 7 years after the divorce, I was holding my 4-year-old son's hand when I ran into my ex-husband. The ex-husband stared at my son with greedy eyes and demanded, "Why didn't you tell me you were pregnant when we got divorced?" I was stunned. He actually thought that after the divorce I would still give birth to his child. What kind of logic is that? "Ellis," I called to the man behind him, "Husband, someone's trying to steal your son." The ex-husband turned around, saw my current husband, and exclaimed in shock, "How can it be you?" Before we go on, please subscribe to this channel and comment to let us know where you're listening from. 1. The day Adrian's scandal hit the trending headlines, the pregnancy test in my hand showed 2 red lines. Adrian had a cold personality, slow to warm up, top grades, and plenty of girls liked him. I had to exhaust every ounce of shameless persistence I could muster, like a dead pig unafraid of boiling water, before I finally won him after a long chase. I trusted him completely. I never believed he would cheat. Yet the moment he came home he laid his cards on the table. "She's pregnant. Let's divorce." His tone was as detached as ever, always playing the part of a composed, sophisticated man. It made me look like an idiot with no IQ. "Are you joking?" I blurted. A wave of dizziness hit me. Luckily I was sitting down or my legs would have buckled. He really had cheated. I wanted to fling the test stick at him and scream hysterically, "I'm pregnant too. How could you do this to me?" I had told him countless times that I wanted us to have a boy and a girl, that I longed for a happy family. He had always smiled and said okay. Only 3 years into our marriage, the baby I'd dreamed of had finally arrived, only for this reversal to club me over the head. I opened my mouth, but my voice stuck in my throat. What's the point of telling him? Looking at the man who had given me a home and then destroyed it, could I pretend nothing had happened? No. He disgusted me, utterly. 2. After informing me of the divorce, Adrian went straight back to the office, afraid I'd make a scene, life as usual. Only I seemed possessed, phone in hand, scrolling through the news. Then it hit me, he had done it on purpose. Given his style, he'd never show up in gossip columns. Ever since he took over the family business on its last leg, he'd been insanely busy, out before dawn, back after midnight, endless networking. And finally the company looked alive again. I'd felt for him, waking early to cook 3 meals a day, lining up liver supplements for all those banquets. Looking back on 5 years together, whenever we argued I was always the one to surrender. To him my consideration was probably just shameless groveling. The next evening he finally came home and was actually surprised to see me making dinner. When he noticed my swollen eyes, he wore a told-you-so expression. I sat down and sipped hot soup. "Can you tell me why you cheated?" He was so busy, where had he found the time? Adrian loosened his tie, annoyed. "We're not compatible, our fate is used up. Let's part on good terms." Incompatible meant he no longer loved me. Fate is used up meant the new woman was his real destiny. To dress cheating up so righteously, clearly I'd misjudged him, thinking we'd grow old together. The soup coated my throat, I swallowed the searing pain and forced a smile. "Fine, let's divorce." He stared, surprised, brows knit, as if he couldn't believe I'd given so easily. 3. Afraid I'd change my mind, he rushed the divorce papers through. The townhouse went to me, and, as the party at fault, he paid me a hefty settlement. Adrian owned surprisingly little. I'd always thought him a minimalist. Watching his assistant pack the suitcases, I realized this house had been only a temporary perch. During our marriage he rarely showed emotion. I'd never dreamed he'd cheat. What kind of woman could make him stray? But I held back. Foolish women attack the woman, smart women attack the man. That woman was clever, and I didn't want to make a spectacle. After he left I started sorting my things. That day a WhatsApp message arrived. Valerie sent a photo, a woman with an elegant figure in power suit armor, arm linked through Adrian's. Who's the woman standing with my brother? She clearly wanted to rub salt in the wound. I answered generously, "Congratulations on your new sister-in-law." Then I deleted every trace of my ex-husband. Next I booked the hospital for a termination. I had no family in the city, I could only ask my best friend to sign for me. When she heard everything, she felt wronged for me, gripping my hand, hers colder and shakier than mine, whispering, "Lena, don't be scared. I'll wait right here." Anyone else would have thought she was the one going into surgery. I squeezed her hand instead, reassuring her it was a minor procedure. In the end I only felt something flow out of my body, along with a pain that carved out my heart. 4. After discharge my friend moved in and nursed me for a month, then asked about my plans. I knew that in Riverdale I'd never be free of Adrian's shadow. Since I'd chosen to let go, I had to cut every tie, quit my job, sell the townhouse. With her help, everything moved lightning fast. On closing day, Adrian called out of the blue. Because I'd deleted his contact, I mistook him for a buyer. Interested in viewing? The house is already sold, so you. It's me, his cool voice cut in. Only then did I notice the number. We hadn't spoken in over a month. I hadn't expected him to call. What do you want? Why are you selling? Thinking of buying it back for your remarriage suite? I sneered. If you don't mind, be my guest. He stayed silent a while. Lena, you quit and you're selling. If you need money, you can come to me. Emery, unless there's something else, I'm busy signing papers. I hung up. In my head, I cursed the jerk. With the sale finished, I did one last thing. I went to the carrier and canceled my number, erasing Riverdale completely. 5. I headed home, to a poor, remote patch of farmland cupped by emerald hills. I returned to my aunt's house, to the woman who had raised me. She'd waited at the village entrance for ages. When she saw me, she was overjoyed yet heartbroken, pulling me close, her rough hands cupping my face. Her palms were warm. She hugged me, then pinched my waist, scolding me for letting myself get so thin and haggard. She towed me home and stewed a 5-year-old hen for me. I studied her, once so spry, now her hair mostly white, the grooves beside her mouth deep, her tired face lit by bright eyes. My heart twisted with guilt. For Adrian, I had stayed in Riverdale, skipping every summer and winter break, neglecting the woman who raised me. She had never uttered a word of complaint. Within days her phone wouldn't stop ringing. My birth parents. My family is odd, son-obsessed. When I was little they tried to give me away, but Aunt Martha, childless, snatched me and brought me up. Uncle, angry she couldn't conceive, divorced her. He remarried and still ended up childless. Aunt Martha never abandoned me, pinched pennies to put me through university. We share no blood, yet we're closer than most mothers and daughters. That's why I ached for a healthy family of my own. I'd thought Adrian was the answer. Probably life's a string of letdowns. The more you crave, the worse the outcome. Then came Mother's shrill roar over the line. How old are you? Pulling a disappearing act. They'd already heard about the divorce. From their tirade I learned they'd planned for Adrian to pull strings so kid, 5 years my junior, could attend high school in Riverdale. Thanks to the divorce, their dream of a scholarship prince was shattered. 6. 2 days later they barged into Aunt Martha's house, trampling the fresh vegetables she'd just picked from her plot. Mother charged straight at me, forehead wrinkles deep enough to trap flies, finger stabbing my nose. Lena. Who allowed you to divorce? How dare you decide something so big yourself? The nerve. Did you ask our permission? Adrian's a golden catch. At your age, how can you treat divorce like a joke? Kid stood with a stony face, unable to hide his glee, sticking his tongue out at me. Aunt Martha was stunned. She opened her mouth but said nothing. I tossed a handful of grain to the ground and watched the hens peck, tuning Mother out. Seeing me ignore her, Mother turned livid, voice climbing. Lena. What attitude is this? Are you deaf? Who taught you such manners? No wonder little Adrian got fed up and divorced you. I couldn't be bothered. Father finally lost patience and cut her off. He sighed. Lena, what really happened between you and Adrian? I scattered the last kernels and tilted my head. How did you know I was divorced? Little Adrian called us. Said he couldn't reach you, was afraid something had happened, asked where you were. I barked out a laugh. Didn't he ever tell you he cheated and that's why we're divorced? A man cheats, so what? Are you stupid? Mom's every word insisted Adrian truly cared about me. Seeing that he still felt something, that he seemed sorry, she said if I went back and fought for it, maybe we could remarry. Take a step back, she argued, successful men cheat, the point is he's rich. As long as I'm in his heart, everything can be fixed. I had, after all, stood by him through the 4 toughest years of his life. Now that he's on top of the world, letting go would be idiotic. Mom cursed me, Dad lectured me, Kid looked down on me. They praised Adrian's dazzling career and cursed my stupidity for not knowing how to keep a man. In front of wealthy, powerful Adrian, I was worth less than dirt. 7. Mom and Dad had already started calculating Adrian's net worth. They planned to ship Leo off to Riverdale. Adrian had supposedly agreed. Mom stared at my stomach. What have you been doing these years? You couldn't even give him a son. Dad scraped my last nerve. I smashed the water glass and snarled, had enough? Both parents glared at me for my ingratitude. I drew a slow breath. Go beg him to be your son if you want, leave me out of it. You didn't raise me, so you've got zero right to judge my choices. Pimping your daughter isn't skill. If you're so good, make him marry your son. What kind of filth are you spouting?" Mom erupted, sparks practically flying from her eyes, finger trembling as she swore again. She called me a heartless wolf, cold scum, raged that she ever bore me, a cursed child. I caught the pain on Aunt Martha's face and swallowed the words, "You really shouldn't have had me." I grabbed my suitcase, walked out of her house, and left their ugly curses behind. Mom kept shrieking, wishing she could flay me alive. I checked into a little guest house, and the moment I got my key a familiar number flashed on the screen. I flipped the phone face down and muted it. After my shower, 20+ missed calls greeted me, texts demanding I pick up. When it rang again I answered, only Adrian's low breathing came through, like we were locked in a mute contest. Finally I lost patience. "Emery, you said it was over. Let's keep it clean, whatever happens, don't ever bother me again." I hung up and shoved him back into the blacklist. I'll never understand Adrian's wiring. Why hunt me down after the divorce just to ruin my day? Was he rattled because I walked away without tears or drama? Does he need me to scream at him to feel better? Pathetic bastard. 8. Birth branded me cold-hearted, so I went full scorched earth and shut the phone off for peace and quiet. They couldn't hack farm life. 5 days later they fled back to the city. The instant they left, Aunt Martha hobbled over. Years of fieldwork had stiffened her legs. She still watched my face for cues, and it broke my heart. She never probed about the divorce, just cooked my favorites and said with a smile, "Keep walking forward." Stuck between birth and me, she'd always had it rough, and she knew I'd made up my mind ages ago. No one ever remembered my birthday except her. Every year she made me eat long life noodles, and she always slipped me a fat red envelope. Seeing the steaming bowl of egg noodles, I thought I was too jaded to cry, but the sight of her dried, bark-like hands sent tears rolling. People chase what they can't have and ignore the real happiness beside them. Family was right here, yet I'd gone hunting for love miles away. I knew I had to repay her, and the only way I could think of was to show her the wider world. Start with the Capitol, the Great Wall, the Palace Museum, the flag raising at dawn. I had all the time in the world now. We traveled for half a year. During a layover in Shanghai, I ran into an old university friend, Ethan. He'd been legendary, the prodigy everyone knew. At a campus forum we'd brushed paths. He was running a fever yet still competing. After the contest he collapsed. I was a volunteer and helped rush him to the hospital. Later I heard he'd dropped out to start an AI company. He greeted me first. I was stunned he remembered me and asked where we were headed. What a coincidence, same route. "Let's sightsee together," he said, smiling. He liked photography and offered to take photos of Aunt Martha and me. To my surprise he wasn't aloof at all. He had her laughing in minutes. After a few days I saw how thoughtful he was in every detail. Aunt Martha beamed. "This young man is really something." I knew what she meant. He is. Great as a friend, anything more was impossible. Watching how people treated him, the way he spoke and dressed, I could tell he came from serious money and had always been the golden boy. His warmth wasn't an act, it was breeding. I knew it had nothing to do with romance. 9. The Delta wouldn't stop drizzling. Aunt Martha's rheumatism flared. I went to buy medicine but couldn't hail a ride. As I waited at the door, he showed up with the very pill she needed. He always carried a mini medical kit on his business trips. Grateful, I invited him to dinner and asked, "Where are you headed next?" Chin in hand, he gazed at me, eyes curving. "Where are you?" His irises were so dark I couldn't read them. I looked away. "Considering Aunt Martha's health," I said, "not sure yet. We'll probably stay put until the weather clears and we've seen enough." He smiled. "Same here." I stared, surprised. His brows lifted gently, like ink strokes on silk. Unlike cold, remote Adrian, he was all refined warmth, someone who could melt into a misty riverscape painting. For a second I wondered if he was deliberately using his looks on me, then decided I was being ridiculous. So I casually dropped, "I've been married before." Ethan answered, "Aunt Martha told me you're divorced and single now." I flushed, not knowing what to say. His lips curved. "We're both free. How about we pair up and muddle through life together?" My heart stumbled. I couldn't tell if he was joking. He wasn't the flirty type. Why say something like that? Ethan noticed the rain had stopped and asked me for a walk. Like I was possessed, I nodded. Walking beside eye candy just felt good. It was an old river town, stone bridges, flowing water, tiled eaves. Carved facades faded into shadows as night fell, regal and quiet. Rain-washed air smelled fresh and sweet. Under his guidance I discovered the joy of cultural travel. he knew everything. Every tile, tree, leaf had plain surfaces yet layered histories. Fascinating. The sky suddenly cracked open. He pulled out an umbrella. By the time we reached the inn, his right shoulder was soaked. I hustled him off to change. Damp strands only made him more handsome. An hour later he knocked and handed me a thermos, steaming ginger tea. Much later I realized, love is an umbrella tilted your way, a cup of hot ginger when you're cold. Simple, yet it moves you. Before our trip ended, Ethan had to fly back for work. He left his contact info. Call me for anything, or nothing. I'll be waiting, he said. I smiled and nodded politely, knowing once we parted we'd probably never meet again. I had no wish to set foot back in Riverdale, the place that broke me. 10. Back home, Aunt Martha slipped into her routine. In her free time she gossiped with neighbors about our travels. Yes, we'd even gone abroad. She insisted foreign countries couldn't beat home, especially the food. Nowhere had our variety. The women envied her, and she blossomed. They loved poking into my business, always trying to set me up. Aunt Martha waved them off. Let fate decide, no rushing. Then the mayor came, asking me to help with a farmland heritage project. On impulse I decided to stay and rebuild Willow Creek. I studied several village proposals, did field research, and latched onto one crop, mugwort, the ultimate medicinal herb. It's edible, bath-ready, incense-friendly, even good for moxa smoke, versatile and in demand. I buried myself in data, drafted a business plan, and pestered the mayor to forward it to the county for subsidy approval. Halfway through, Valerie showed up on my doorstep. She saw me dressed like a farm wife and decided my life was miserable. The discovery only made her strut away happier. I simply laughed it off. The Artemisia project moved ahead on schedule. First, I leased a big tract of farmland and broke ground on the greenhouse complex. While the frames were still going up, the mayor told me the county considered the trial so important that they were sending a specialist to help with planting. I ran out to meet him, elated. The moment he stepped from the car I froze. The mayor introduced us. This is Ethan, a grade A AI engineer from Huaneng, assigned to help us build an ecological Artemisia park. Ethan stretched out his hand. So we meet again. My mouth fell open. I started to offer my own hand, saw the mud caking it, and tried to pull back, but he caught it first. His palm was warm. A jolt shot up my arm and straight into my heart. My scalp prickled. His brows bent in a soft arc. One look and 1,000 years seemed to pass. I forgot to breathe. The world tilted. Ethan, this cutting-edge tech engineer, the mayor installed in Aunt Martha's house. I suspect he arranged it on purpose. Aunt Martha was over the moon, cooking him something new every day. In private he asked, puzzled, why did you stop texting? Your replies got so short. I gave an awkward laugh. Ethan smiled. Doesn't matter. If you wouldn't come to me, I'd come to you. Happy now? Heat rushed to my face and the tip of my heart. I didn't know what to say, so I only glared. His grin widened. With perfect seriousness he praised my Artemisia plan as weirdly fascinating. Farmland fused with high tech, our new kind of partnership, his and mine. I saw his skill for the first time. Those code-typing fingers looked as if they were playing a piano, and the sight of him working was mesmerizing. Rowan, he would lift his SLR and catch me hoeing or weeding, later making albums for Aunt Martha and me. His presence changed my days so visibly, the way the countryside keeps merging with the modern. He taught me plenty, simple coding included. I never thought I'd feel my heart race for another man. We won't fit. Sooner or later you'll leave. He answered, my job has me on the road a lot, but no matter how far anyone roams, he needs a center. Will you be mine? I stared. I've been married before. He leaned in. So what? I should thank your ex-husband for missing you. That gave me my chance. You could find someone better. To me, the one I like is the best. He tucked a strand of my hair behind my ear, reading my fear. No rush. I'll wait. He never pressured me, and that was a relief. Later, even our silences felt easy. I realized he had slipped into my life like gentle rain, until his absence made me uncomfortable. With his help the Artemisia plots thrived. I finally saw what his AI could do. The program he wrote used infrared scans to keep constant watch on humidity and temperature, watering or feeding nutrients when needed. It scanned the plants day and night, flagged disease or pests, and told farmers exactly how to treat them. I avoided countless pitfalls, and we even built an online mini-mall for the village so sales were covered. Night after night he stayed up with me improving the greenhouse complex, poring over data, adjusting settings again and again. At the first big harvest, I steamed Artemisia rice cakes for him. Delicious. He broke one in half and lifted it to my lips. I bit, accidentally brushing his fingertip. He went rigid, ears flushing. It was rare to see him flustered. I laughed. He sighed. When will you agree to be my girlfriend? Right now. He blinked, snapped his head up, checking whether I was joking. Seriously? I nodded, smiling. Ethan whooped and pulled me into his arms, voice soft at my ear. This is perfect. I wrapped my arms around him, feeling our heartbeats lose their rhythm. Aunt Martha was the happiest of all when she heard Ethan and I were official. He had already reshingled the roof, rewired the house, and planted a small flower garden. She had long treated him as a son-in-law, only restraining herself for my sake. Then my birth parents got wind that I was dating an agri-tech guy. Furious, they called. All those years of school for nothing? You insist on rotting in the sticks and marrying a herb farmer? You want to die in a ditch? Mother still romanticized Adrian and tried to impose her greed on me. She hinted Adrian still missed me, which was why he'd solved kids' school registration. Even knowing he had a new woman, she dreamt I'd steal him back. Being the other woman was fine by her. I chuckled. Since you adore him, send kid to Thailand, maybe Adrian fancies boys. Mother was struck speechless. Father barked, when did you become so mean? The backwoods has warped your brain. I said, feel free to disown your ill-bred daughter. You were ready to dump me once already. I hung up before they did, a petty victory, but still a pinch in the heart. I turned and found Ethan. He had planted a patch of sunflowers. He cut a bouquet and said they reminded him of me, big, bright, every petal grown by his care. I forced a smile and said they were lovely. He read my mood. What happened? Can you just hold me? Without a word he folded me in his arms. The absence of family I'd felt as a child made me crave a new one, desperate to love and be loved. What Adrian never gave, safety, Ethan gave in full. I tipped my face up, stood on my toes, and kissed him first. Ethan stiffened, then took over, and things slid out of control. We married the second year we were together. A year later our son arrived, wild, always tailing his dad. When Theo reached preschool age we agreed Jiangzhou schools would suit him better. I never imagined heading back to Jiangzhou, but if Ethan could follow me into the countryside, I could follow him to the city. That day he went ahead to the branch office. We were to meet at a restaurant. We had just sat down when Theo, fooling around, knocked a bowl off the table. I told him to pick it up. A stranger beat him to it. When I saw the man's face my heart lurched. Adrian. He had a table full of suits behind him, probably clients. I grabbed Theo's hand to leave, but Adrian stepped in our path. Lena? His gaze fixed on Theo, startled. Ethan had raised our boy well. At 4 he was sturdy, taller, and heavier than most. I couldn't carry him anymore. Why didn't you tell me you were pregnant when we divorced? He stared as though hunting for his own features in my son's face. I was stunned. How did he even know I'd been pregnant? Don't tell me he thought this child was his. Ridiculous. Did he imagine I'd play martyr and give birth to his baby after the divorce? Theo puffed his cheeks at the stranger and tugged my sleeve. Where's Daddy? He wanted me to call Ethan. Adrian, misreading, looked at Theo with a greedy longing that reminded me of 7 years ago, when I'd lain alone on a cold operating table. The old, bone-deep ache resurfaced. Yet facing him again, I felt calmer than I'd expected. No need to run. I smiled and led Theo back to our seats. Theo goggled at Adrian with round, curious eyes. Adrian reached to pat his head. Theo sprang up, waving chubby arms. Daddy. Mommy and I are here. Adrian turned, and his face froze. Ethan, spotting him, hesitated a second, then strode over. I half-joked, husband, someone's trying to steal your son. Adrian stammered, it's you. How, why you? Theo lunged into Ethan's arms, calling him daddy in his baby voice and labeling the odd man strange uncle. Ethan hoisted Theo and greeted Adrian. My wife Lena, my son Theo, he's 4. At the word 4 Adrian's last hope shattered. He gaped at me. I smiled, honestly enjoying the moment. We sat down and ordered. Ethan was obviously irregular. The waitstaff brought our set menu at once. Adrian's assistant came to fetch him. When we finished, I paid the bill. Ethan had put household money in my hands. As we turned to leave I spotted a familiar face, Julia, Adrian's childhood sparring partner turned wife. She finished her freshman year here, then spent sophomore year abroad as an exchange student. After that she seemed to do well overseas and never planned to come back. I never expected she had returned 7 years ago, and when I saw the little girl she was holding, who looks exactly like Adrian. Everything was obvious without a word. Julia froze, probably stunned to run into me. "Lena, you're back in Riverdale?" I said. "Am I not allowed?" Her smile turned awkward, then she noticed the ring on my left hand and heard Theo call me Mom. "Congratulations on your remarry." I smiled coolly. "Riley, congratulations on finally climbing into the seat." Julia's face strained. Suddenly her daughter whined, "Mom, you're hurting me." If the child hadn't been there I might have said something uglier. When someone makes me miserable, I return the favor, no hesitation. Ethan seemed to be hiding a laugh as he hoisted our solid boy onto his hip and laced his fingers through mine, walking us out of the restaurant. I could feel the scorch of eyes on my back, but I didn't bother turning around. Theo's school placement went through, so we started shuttling between Riverdale and the farm. Aunt Martha came to town, but city life didn't suit her. She soon headed back to the countryside. We begged the mayor to keep an eye on her and installed cameras so we could check on her anytime. Since we were in Riverdale anyway, I decided to launch a local sales channel for my Wormwood project. Ethan's agri-tech corporation was already mature, so he became the stay-at-home genius, chauffeuring and feeding Theo more than I did. 15. While we were temporary Riverdale residents, Ethan's parents shipped us crates of heirloom furniture. They'd wanted to throw us a welcome gala. Ethan knows me, he declined on our behalf. My mother-in-law turned out to be adorable. She loves to corner me and complain that Ethan is warm-faced but ice-blooded, too brilliant to teach, which makes her suspect he's a secret psychopath. There was also the year he dove into Buddhist texts and Taoist scrolls. She lived in terror he'd shave his head and vanish into a monastery. She squeezed my hands and said, "Thank heaven he married and had a kid, he finally smells human." "I'm so grateful you showed up." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Life rolled on peacefully, until the last person I expected came knocking. One afternoon I'd just picked Theo up when I spotted Adrian and Ethan talking in the yard. Adrian looked awful, anger coiled so tight I thought he might swing at my husband any second. When Ethan saw me, his smile froze for a heartbeat, then curved back into place. I'd always thought nothing could rattle him. Today he looked restless. Was he afraid I still carried a torch for Adrian? Theo spotted the stranger, charged his father, and hugged Ethan's knees like a bodyguard certain Adrian was hostile. Ethan laughed, scooped him up. Adrian spoke first. "Lena, I have something vital to say." I glanced at Ethan. He said, "Talk if you want." He left the choice in my hands. For the first time I heard uncertainty in my husband's voice, an oddity. Theo called, "Mommy, hurry." Theo's tummy is growling. Kids are blunt but intuitive. He sensed history standing in front of him. I ruffled his hair. "Be right back." 16. I hadn't seen Adrian in a month. The old polish was gone, purple shadows ringed his eyes, his whole frame steeped in gloom. Impressive, Mr. Heartless actually looked wrecked. He stared, words stuck in his throat, waiting for me to ask what had transpired with my husband. I crouched by the flower bed, studying the sunflowers, and asked cheerfully, "Mind if I toss you a question?" His hollow eyes flickered. "Ask." Through the glass I could see Theo flattened to the window and Ethan's back moving in the open kitchen. "Does white moonlight spoil if you leave it out too long?" Adrian froze, face cycling from white to green to red, lips twitching. "No." He tried to defend himself, met my mocking gaze, and blanched. I laughed. "Relax. Julia boosts your career and stoops to conquer. She didn't mind you were married, hung in there, shows real love, the patience to wreck what we had. That's not it." His voice cracked upward. "I'm sorry, I didn't know you were pregnant. How could you end it without telling me? That was our child. I had a right to know." I snorted. "Before you cheated, did you worry about my right to know?" He stood speechless. I said, "It's only love. I can pick it up, I can set it down. No way I'd let an unborn baby steer my Jamie." He gaped, shocked that gentle Lena could speak this way, probably assuming I'd worship him forever, that all women are born martyrs. Theo called again. I turned to go. Adrian blurted, "Lena, the second the divorce was final I regretted it. I kept waiting for you to beg me back, but you never said a word. Screw off, psycho." I didn't look back and walked inside. Theo wrapped both arms around my calf. "Mommy, go help Daddy, he's spacey, and I'm starving. I think you need a diet, chunky. Any bigger and you won't be handsome." "Theo." I led him to the kitchen. From the corner of my eye Adrian still stood in the yard, watching me, maybe watching Ethan. I can't fathom his logic. 7 years later he shows up, mutters I regret, and expects forgiveness? Last time he wrecked the home I'd painstakingly built. Now he's back for an encore. Pathetic. 17. I never imagined Adrian would keep popping up, at business meetings, restaurants, even proposing partnerships to expand my market. I ignore him and tell him to see a shrink. His persistence finally upset Ethan. Despite my reassurances, Ethan now needs to hold me every night to be sure I'm still there, forcing me to say I love him over and over. One morning Adrian rang. I was about to hang up when I heard him speak my husband's name. 7 years ago, yes, I'd dug it all up. You used your position to parachute Julia right into my path, didn't you? Adrian froze. You were the one who betrayed the marriage first. 7 years later you still blame everyone else, refuse to admit you were wrong. You haven't changed at all. Adrian shook his head. No. You're reversing cause and effect. If he hadn't schemed, if Julia hadn't deliberately misled and seduced me, no. Even without Julia there would have been a Jennifer or a Judy. Just like 7 years ago you did this to me, and now you've done it to Julia. I stood up and saw husband's car pull to the shop's entrance. In the back seat, Theo waved at me from his booster. I looked down at Adrian and said quietly, the way you once put it, we're not right for each other, the bond is spent. Let's part on good terms. I handed his own words back to him, picked up my purse, and got into the car. Ethan leaned over, serious at first. Smell that? Strongest vinegar fumes ever, comfort me. I kissed his cheek and whispered, husband, I want you in bed tonight. Let's give Theo a little sister. Ethan's eyes lit up. He laced our fingers so tightly that Jamie never wanted to let go. Just like the lyrics of Happy Breakup say, wave goodbye to the wrong one, only then can you meet the right. Leaving an old love is like taking the slow train. Once you see through it, the heart clears right up. No one can confiscate anyone's happiness. Jamie wants only happiness. Extra, Adrian's point of view. 1. Last night I overdrank again. In the haze I replayed my wedding to Lena. She wore her wedding gown, beaming, and flung herself into my arms. I do. At that instant my heart was on fire. I always knew how much she adored me. Her life had been hard, yet she stayed romantic. Before and after the wedding she showered me with emotional fuel. One compliment from me and she'd light up like the 4th of July. She laughed easily, her childhood must have lacked joy, so she longed to marry young. She wanted a warm home to heal the wounds of her early years. She described that future home to me again and again. I figured building a life with her would be nice, so I married her. Career-wise she offered no help, but at least she never got in my way. Still, people can be idiots. When you already own happiness, you start thinking it's owed to you. Life feels flat, like something's missing. Then Julia re-entered the picture, apparently regretful for turning me down years earlier. We clicked professionally, and after enough late nights what happened felt natural. At the time I didn't see a problem. Even if I slipped first, what could Lena possibly do to me? I was sure I was her best option. She could never land a man better than me. Her family was tacky and greedy, easy to manipulate. My plan, divorce her, yet keep steering her life. Yes, she could be my mistress. The fact that I still wanted her should have filled her with gratitude. She loved me so much, of course she'd agree, she'd never leave. Only later did I realize the real nightmare wasn't Julia, it was Ethan. His arrival slapped me awake. Why had I pursued Lena in the first place? Back then Ethan had turned Julia down, so Julia left to study overseas. He'd hurt the girl I liked, so I deliberately stole the girl he fancied. I preened, convinced I'd beaten him. In truth, he'd never even seen me as competition. 2. Ethan and I lived in the same neighborhood. From birth he commanded attention, skipped grades, aced everything. Naturally, he became the gold standard parents held over me. I refused to accept it. I thought him too bookish. Real men don't bury themselves in pages, they sweat on courts and fields. One afternoon I was hitting tennis with friends when he showed up. My game was solid, maybe jealousy sparked the challenge. I wanted to drag him off that pedestal. He read my mind, smiled, and agreed. The instant I felt his serve I knew I was doomed. Of course he still praised my form, all gentlemanly. I laughed on the outside, fumed inside. We were both top tier, so why did he always eclipse me? No one remembers second place. Later, at school, he rejected Julia. She stormed off to college abroad. I kept wondering, what kind of girl could someone like him fall for? I even suspected a guy that arrogant might be in love only with himself. Then, after a contest, he collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. I went hoping to gloat, but found him half conscious, clutching the hand of a girl who looked as lost as a startled fawn. That was my first glimpse of a fragile Ethan, and of Lena. 3. Because of Ethan, I started watching Lena. At first glance she wasn't stunning, yet the more you looked the easier she was on the eyes. When she smiled, clear, pure, it was contagious. Ellis, I set my trap, arranged run-ins, tutored her after class. I felt her affection keep climbing, she even made the first move. Catching the defeat in Ethan's eyes thrilled me. Ethan soon vanished from our crowd, he'd gone south to chase AI research. Suddenly my victory felt childish. Ethan always follows his own rhythm, study, life, work, undisturbed by puppy love. Oddly, once I was with Lena I stopped obsessing over him. Her smile alone could lift my mood. She painted futures that starred me. After graduation we were the first couple to marry. At the start I wanted to give her security, so when did I stop? Maybe my parents' voice seeped in, she brings zero career value. Maybe I banked on her adoration and took it for granted. Maybe I'd grown so cocky I believed I could script her whole life. So when she finally saw how small I was, she turned away without hesitation. She carried our child, never told me, and ended the pregnancy. That's when I knew, she seems soft, but she's fiercer than anyone. Birth abandoned her, she could abandon birth. She could dump me just as cleanly. Unlike city-bred girls, she carries raw, wild vitality. In our story she looked the weaker, yet she was the one holding the reins. Love, she nurtures it with everything she's got. Fall out of love, she drops it, neat and final, no looking back. That untamed spirit lets her restart without fear. Career and family now both flourish. And it's exactly that magnetism that captivated Ethan. 4. Julia and Valerie once nursed crushes on Ethan. When they learned he'd quietly married Lena, bitterness gnawed at them. A chance encounter at the mall handed them the excuse they wanted. Openly and in undertones they mocked her for being a divorcee, accused her of wrecking my home and appending the Cross family. Lena stayed calm, hit record on her phone, and asked, "Will you take legal responsibility for your remarks? I'm suing for defamation." Without another word she called the police and launched a case, no settling out of court. Julia and Valerie's faces turned the color of old parchment. Theo ran to Ethan and tattled, "Someone bullied mommy." Ethan backed every decision Lena made, then poured fuel on the flames himself. No one dared cross her after that. I suddenly remembered Ethan's words to me. "You didn't lose to me, you lost yourself." So, when Julia re-entered the scene, my arrogance slipped. So, I lost the girl who once dreamed Jamie held me, the girl who couldn't stop smiling. Now, when I picture her, memory tastes like bile, regret and pain. Jamie, all I want is happiness. The end. Story complete. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this tale, please like and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe for more unforgettable stories. See you next time.